and we're going to learn how to make a few things that are very easy, very time saving and money saving. And all those people that are around your house that you don't know who they are, that's your family, okay? I know you haven't seen them for years, but they are your family and they're stuck in there with you. So it'd be kind of nice to go back to the old days when we actually cooked meals before, cook breakfast, dinner, and supper. And one of the things you can do with this is really cool, because we're going to make white bread today. And as I tell everybody that comes into my kitchen, the one thing you're not allowed to tell anybody is how easy it is, because everybody thinks I'm brilliant. This stuff is stupid easy, and I know you're going to be able to do it. Anybody can do it. I can do it. I do have one advantage that you don't have, or maybe you do have, that this is God's kitchen and everything that comes out of here works out okay. So if you believe in God, you might be in good shape. If you don't, well, I don't know what to tell you. All right, so we're going to get started here. The first thing we're going to do is gather all our supplies. We have dry active yeast, we have flour, we have sugar, we have oil and salt. That's all you're going to need to make your bread. And if you had a lot of time, for instance, you wouldn't even need the yeast, because you can make the bread without yeast. All you have to do is let it set for a week and let it ferment, and it makes its own yeast. So it's really cool stuff. First thing we're going to do is put some yeast in these pans. I'm going to be doing 2 different bowls and 2 different systems here, but it's all going to get the exact same thing, only because what I want to show you is how to do it by hand and how to do it by KitchenAid style mixer. So that's the only difference. I'm going to put a tablespoon of yeast in each one of these containers. So 1 tablespoon of yeast. We're going to add a 1/4 cup of sugar, just white sugar. If you want to do some of that weird stuff, you can do that, but I just use good old American white sugar, right out of the Louisiana cane fields, so that's the good stuff as far as I'm concerned. So 1/4 cup of sugar in each one. Don't get too worried about the measuring. Don't get freaky out and try to make everything exact. It's not rocket science. We're making bread here, so don't get yourself too worked up. We're going to put just a tablespoon of sugar in each one of them. Now I use dry active yeast. You can use your instant yeast, you can use all kinds of stuff. One of the things people get concerned about is that they haven't used their yeast for a long time. It's been sitting in their cabinet. Is it any good or is it not any good? And if you don't, so we're going to proof our yeast to make sure it's good before we use it. If you don't do that, you might have good bread, you might not have good bread, because if the yeast is no good, then your bread's not going to rise. So if you proof it before, you'll know what you got, and you don't have to worry about it. We're going to put 2½ cups of warm water in each one of these, somewhere in that neighborhood anyway. Now, the temperature of the water, go on the internet, it'll tell you it has to be somewhere between 195 and 210. Or, I'm sorry, 95 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And we use Fahrenheit here, not Celsius, because we're Americans, But you don't have to worry about all that crap. Turn your faucet on, let it get warm. The highest your hot water heater is set for is 120. And 120 will not kill the yeast. So let your water get good and hot. And then just go ahead and add your yeast, add the water to your yeast mix. Then we're just going to let it set for about 5 minutes, and we're going to be able to see whether or not the yeast is working. It's going to bubble up on us and get nice and frothy, and we'll know it's good. Have a cup of coffee. We'll be back in 5 minutes. We're back. As you can see, our yeast has proofed, and it's nice and full blossom. It's nice and frothy now. So all we got left is a little bit of oil and some flour. So we're almost done. This stuff's pretty easy. Now we're making, each one of these batches is going to make 2 loaves. We're going to put 2 tablespoons of oil in here. I just use standard vegetable oil. You can use canola oil or any mild oil. You can even use olive oil if you want, but I would definitely stick with the plain olive oil. Wouldn't get anything too virgin. It's going to make the bread taste like crap. So plain oil. You can also, if you want to live on the edge and not worry about cardiac disease, you can put butter in there instead too. Butter Makes a nice loaf of bread. Now we're going to add our flour. Now for the flour, you're going to read all kinds of stuff on there about bread flour and about high gluten flour, low gluten flour, and all-purpose flour, and all those kinds of flour. It doesn't matter, okay? Use whatever you got in the closet there. The only thing I wouldn't use is cake flour at this point, because cake flour is like really fine and it doesn't rise very much at all. But any of your all-purpose flours, or if you want to get bread flour and you can get it, that's fine. I do use a high gluten flour, but that's because I use it for other things too. But I often use just plain bread flour and all-purpose flour, and there's not a whole lot of difference you can see. I also don't worry about measuring too much, because depending on where you are, as they say, baking is a science, and science only works when you're in a controlled environment, okay? When you're in an uncontrolled environment like we live, then the science doesn't work out too well. So the things that can affect baking and bread making is humidity, where you at sea level, and all those things can make a difference for how your bread's going to come out and how much flour you're going to need. So you put in as much flour as you need, and that's what we're going to do here. We're not going to get too complicated with it to say it is going to take you somewhere between 6 and 7 cups of flour for this recipe. This recipe does 2 loaves each. Each one of these will be 2 loaves. On the machine, this is a dough hook. This is what you want to use. The dough hook is what you want to use on this. So we're going to put that in there, put the dough hook on. We're going to add some flour in there. I normally start out with about 3 cups, somewhere in that neighborhood, just to get it to start mixing up well. You want to get your flour good and wet. So 3 cups is normally plenty to get that started. And I just put it on medium and let it do its thing. That's all we got to do. Over here, I'm mixing. I got this tool. I have no idea what it's called. But it's really good for making bread with. Probably find them on Amazon. I think that's where we got this, Amazon or something like that. But it makes it real easy. You can use a spatula, you can use a spoon, it doesn't really matter. And we're just going to keep on adding some flour here, slowly. And we're going to keep on mixing it up and kneading it until we get what we're looking for here. I'm going to go over what we're looking for. What we're looking for here is for the dough to be well blended and smooth. We don't want any lumps in it. We want it nice and smooth. Some of the ways you can tell how it should be, it'll hit for you. If you got a teenager around and you touch their face and you feel all that acne and them bumps, that's not what you want here, okay? You're going to get that in the beginning. If you got a baby around and you feel her butt, that's what you're looking for, smooth like a baby's butt. If you don't have a baby, maybe your neighbor will let you borrow theirs. But whatever, you just want to make it nice and smooth and soft like a baby's butt. And it shouldn't be sticky. It's going to be a little bit wet, but not sticky. So, and of course, that's not good with a baby's butt either. So, you don't want a sticky baby's butt. That can be pretty dramatic stuff, you know. So we're going to keep on mixing this for a little while. The machine is going ahead and doing all the work over there. I'm doing it over here. So, as you can see, what I'm doing here by hand, it's getting nice and stiff. It's starting to come together. We're getting a dough, so we're going to have to take this out of here and knead it by hand from this point on here. So we want to put a little bit of flour on the deck, not a lot. We're going to dump everything out onto the table. Get all this extra dough off of here. Add a little bit more in the machine. And we're going to knead. In the beginning, when you first start out, it's still kind of wet. Just do whatever you got to do to get it to start. I fold and turn, fold and turn. Sprinkle a little bit more flour on top and keep folding it in. Easy way to do this is basically fold and push with your hand, turn, fold, push with your palm, fold, push with your palm, just keep turning it, pushing with the palm. Still sticky, add a little bit more flour. I don't know about this machine stuff, it's really going slow over here. There, now it's coming together. See, if you touch this right now and felt it, you'd feel all them pimples I was talking about what your teenager would have. When we're done, it's going to be a pretty thing. Going to keep on working that stuff in. We're also activating the gluten. Gluten is what holds your bread together. And that's how you activate it. With flour, water, and agitation, and you get the gluten activated. We're going to do this for about, it's going to take you 4 or 5 minutes to get this really smoothed out well, depending on how fat you are and how much weight you can put on it at once. Your little thing might take 10 minutes. I got a lot of weight behind me, so it doesn't take too long. Done. Let's check this one over here. I'll need a little bit more flour now. That's what I'm talking about, sticky. This batch is almost too big for this machine. If you got a machine at home, you're probably going to want to cut this batch in half and just do 1 loaf at a time if you're going to do it by the machine. The machine struggles a little bit, and you can see it throws the flour all over the place. So if you cut this recipe in half, you'll be fine. I'm going to grab a couple bowls here. Got a couple bowls to let it do its rising. And you need to oil these bowls. I like using spray oil. It's just as easy as can be. Just oil them down. You're going to pick up your dough. You're going to flush it down. And then you're going to turn it over and pop it back. That's all there is to it. Let's check this one here. There, we're good now. We're going to take this out. The top's a little bit wet, but the bottom's really good, so we'll be fine here. And actually, I'm going to tell you, if you like, if you're a fan of real soft bread, sort of like your Wonder Bread or your Walmart bread or whatever, the real soft white bread, it doesn't hurt to leave your dough a little bit wetter. That'll end up being a softer dough. If you want it's more of a firm bread, a more sturdy bread, then you let it get a little drier as you're kneading it. Just a little more flour. When we're done this, you'll see the difference in the two. Here we're just going to pop it in there, turn it over, want the whole thing to get wet with oil. We're going to cover them and we're going to let them set for about 1 episode of Walking Dead. All right, about 45 minutes to an hour should do it. The cool part about this is, as you can see, I've only got about 15 minutes worth of work in it so far. I'm going to put about another 10 minutes into it after it's done rising. That's it. Throw it in the oven, bring it out, and you got food. And people come home and they think you've worked all day long doing this stuff for them, and you've got caught up with all your binging and everything else. Well, the bread itself does all the work, so you don't have to do much. About 15, 20 minutes of work, and you are set, and everybody just thinks you're the most wonderful parent in the world, going through all this trouble for just them. See you in about an hour. Well, now we're back. We've had time for our dough to rise, to double its size. It's been about 45 minutes for us, but you guys, depends on the humidity and the temperature of your room and things like that. It may have been done faster, may get done a lot longer. So actually, it's been about 45 minutes for us, but we stopped the camera, so I could probably be 3 hours and you wouldn't know the difference anyway. So what's the difference, huh? Double your size. Double the size of the dough is what you're looking for. So we're gonna bring that out onto the table. Here comes. And we're just going to fold it together a little bit and press some of the air out of it. This is the one that was the one done by the machine. As you can see, it's a little bit wetter than the other one, but it'll be fine. We're going to get it into some kind of a shape so that we can divide it. Now you have a choice here. If you're OCD and you want to get things real technical, you can weigh this out, or you can just take a wild guess. It really doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal one way or another. If one slice is bigger than the other slice, it gives the kids something to fight about. It's always good to have something for them to fight about. So we're going to separate them. We've got our 4 loaves. And what we're going to do now is we're going to get all the air out of them. So we're just going to knead it down. We're not necessarily trying to activate anything. We just want to make sure all the air is out of them. And we want to roll them a little bit and fold them till we get them into a nice shape. This part isn't that important either, and I'm going to show you why here in just a minute. But if we get them all squeezed together a little bit, it prevents a lot of that separating as it bakes. Get our pans. These are just standard bread loaf pans. Because I do a lot of bread at once, all 4 of them are tied together. But as you can see, they're just individual pans that they've locked together. We're going to spray them real good with a spray. Make sure nothing sticks. Don't ever be afraid to put this stuff on there. It's a lot better to use a little bit more spray and have it come out than use a little too less and have it not come out. I'm just going to slap it in there. Nothing fancy. Just put them in. We're just going to press them down into the corners. They'll bounce back a little bit, but don't worry about it. When it rises, they'll all separate real good. It'll all expand into all the corners. Just give it a little bit of help at this point. We're going to spray the top of them a little bit. So I'm going to put, if you're going to put a wet towel or something like that to cover them up, you don't need to do that. But I'm going to put cellophane over them. And by spraying the top of them, when they rise, the cellophane will not stick to the dough. Just want to cover them up so that they don't get a little crusty on the top. And we're going to let them set. We're going to let them rise until they're about ½ inch to 1 inch over top of the over top of the pan, as you'll notice. And as you notice when I was cooking it, or when I was mixing it, the one with the mixer took a lot more flour than the one without the mixer, so the loaves are going to be a little bit bigger on the ones with mixer than the ones that I did by hand. But it makes no difference. It's all going to get done fine. And as I said, 5 minutes. So now we got a total of 20 minutes of work done, and we're not going to do any more. All we're going to do is let this set. We're going to put it in the oven, and we're going to take it out, and we're ready to eat it. So I'll see you in probably about another half hour, about 30 minutes before this rises up high enough to do what we need to do. Okay, we're back. Now the bread's had plenty of time to do its second rise. As you notice, like I said, because I don't care, we've got different sized loaves all over the place here, but it's all going to work out fine. So no need in worrying about that when you do it. The main one here is about an inch over top of the pan. We preheated our oven to 375. Now we're just going to take off the plastic and we're just going to throw it in the oven for about 35 minutes and we'll be eating bread. So we want 35 minutes at 375. When we take it out, we're going to be able to tap on the bottom and it's going to sound nice and hollow, and that's how we're going to know when it's done. If you want to get really particular about it, you can use a thermometer to test the inside, and the inside should be about 185 degrees for any non-egg bread. If you're going to use an egg bread, you should do it up to about 195, 200 degrees. We're not even going to worry about that. We know it's going to be done when it's done, and we're just going to cut it and enjoy a little bit, so we'll see you in about 35 minutes. Okay, well our 35 minutes is up. We've baked our bread 375 for 35 minutes, and we're going to pull it out and take a look at it. And there you go, that's some good looking stuff there. Pop it out of here. We're going to need to put it on a cooling rack. Just what I was talking about, the hollow sound means your bread is done. As you can see, we've had 3 different size loaves, but they're all done. And that burns a little bit, so be careful with that. Yeah. Now, you should wait until the bread cools before you eat it. And what fun would that be, right? So we're going to take some of this bread. The only trick to it is you want to just take off the edges if you want to eat a little piece now, because the bread is still cooking as it's cooling. So we can cut a little piece off the side. You can see that beautiful steam coming out of it. That steam is what's still cooking it. And you got a nice bread here. It's going to look a lot better when it's cooled off, because it's cooled. And let's get some stuff here. All right, we're going to put a little bit of butter on it. We got the real stuff here. You can use anything you want. If you want to use some of that soy crap, you can do that too. Yeah, hot melted butter on there. And there is nothing better than a piece of fresh hot bread out of the oven. It's a nice hot melted butter. That's the die for. A little jelly on there. Anything you like. You want to be really weird, you can do what the Australians do. Put the stuff called Vegemite on there. Or if you watch any cooking shows from the big busy chefs that talk about a palate. If you're going to eat this, you got to have a palate made for diesel fuel. That's what it tastes like. But they love it. They eat like crazy when they're visiting. And that's it. The only thing I got for you, we're going to go over the recipe one more time. Before you call the family in to eat the bread, I recommend that you wash your hair up a little bit. Make sure you got a raggedy old apron on. And if you put a little bit of flour and wipe it on your forehead there, right before they come in, it looks like you worked real hard today. And really make them feel bad for you making this nice bread for them, just for them. But let's remember the recipe. You added 1 tablespoon of active dry yeast, 1/4 cup of sugar to 2.5 cups of warm water. We let that set for 5 minutes. Give the yeast a chance to bloom. Once the yeast is bloomed, when it gets all foamy, you can add a tablespoon of salt and 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil or canola oil, whatever type of oil you like to put in there. Then you're going to add anywhere from 6 to 7 cups of flour. Going to add about 3 cups in to start out with, get it mixed up good. Slowly add the other cups until you get a nice dough that is again firm and not sticky and smooth as a baby butter. And that's the important part. Once we do that, we're going to put it in an oiled bowl of some sort. Put it in, turn it over, make sure the whole thing is oiled. Cover it, let it set for about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, or until it doubles. That's what you're looking for, double in the size. After that, you're going to knock all that air out of the dough. You're going to divide it up into 2 different loaves, shape them a little bit, put them in a greased pan, loaf pan. Let them set for another half hour until they rise about a half to 1 inch above your loaf pan. Stick it in a preheated oven at 375 for 35 minutes. Take it out, put it on a tray so it cools, and you're done. And I'm done. Last statements I want to make to you is 2 famous quotes. One is, God is great, beer is good, and people are crazy. And the other from that great band, Mickey Rourke. Better to be dead and cool than alive and uncool.